Yo, welcome to Prototype Dad Podcast. We back another Tuesday, 9 p.m. Checking in live. Got Victor Stone right here. Leafer Scales. Ron making it back. Welcome, fellas.
What's up, man? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Can you hear Leafer?
Yep, I got it. You didn't hear me?
Uh-uh.
No, okay.
We
Microphone must be glitching.
we're gonna drop some bombs and some applause. Yeah, you got some new sound effects. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
I see you upgraded.
he
Yeah.
said, they got the applause in there. I got the applause in there. True. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and attack this first question, man. It's one of those things that's been kind of pondering. Um, I haven't been pondering about the first question. It's really about the last question, but we'll get to the first one. We'll see if we got to the last. Right. So, question number one: what's the criteria on selecting mothers for our children? Like, how did we go about that?
Oh, yo, you know what? Man, through experience and through the years, like my criteria is constantly evolving and changing, man. It's like when you buy a house when you're younger, and you know what I'm saying. Like when I bought my house, I just wanted a basement. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand like the slope of the driveway and like you know what I mean, the size of the bathrooms and the kitchen and the resale value and you know what I'm saying where it's located. But now that through time of understanding, if I bought a house now, I would pick a totally different house, man. You know what I mean? Based on everything that I understand. So I think that's like picking a mom, man. Like when you're young, you're just looking for certain things, man. Most of it's physical, you know, or somebody that just, you know, you can get along with. But now I gotta understand your background. I gotta know how your relationship with your mom is, how your relationship with your brother. You know what I'm saying? Like how you treat your siblings, like all that's important, man. Like every little thing, man. That contributes to how you know what I'm saying they're gonna treat the children, dog. How the environment the children gonna be in. Yo, what up, Reese?
You on mute? You on mute? You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
All right, what's happening?
Welcome, Mo Better. You know what I mean?
Trying
Clap
to
it
get
up
my
for
mic.
it. Clap it up for it. Go ahead, Leafer. What you got, bro?
That's a good question. It's crazy because, you know, really, I never really, like early on, I never really thought about that. Like, the type of person as far as that I would want for a mother and my child. Like, for me, it was always like, you know, I kind of bypassed that thought. It was more like, okay, who would be the best to create a space with. You know what I mean? And I felt like if that space was tight, you know what I mean, then everything else would kind of work itself out. So I didn't really think about, for the kids. And once I got to a certain age, it was like I was really like not interested in having kids. I was just like, so it was more just like, how can we create a space that's going to be conducive to success? And then anything that comes after that, I was just, I was hoping it would build success. So it was weird. I was kind of working it backwards.
So, what's some of the qualities she has to have? Let's nail down some things.
Yes, well, for me, it was more or less like, she had to have some kind of like grounding mechanism, whether that was spirituality, you know what I mean, the church or whatever it was, some kind of grounding mechanism where she could, look back to if she was going too left, she'd, be able to something there to be able to pull her back right. If she's going too right, there's something there to be able to pull her back left. And, it's like some kind of drive, and goals and just being able to focus, on something and being able to move forward. Like that was important to me because that's the type of stuff that I was on. And I was like, I can't have a partner that's not, moving at least at the same pace as me or in the same direction as me to where we can have those conversations. So that was more important to me, to have somebody who was interested in moving forward and not just kind of staying in the same place.
Mo better. What you got?
Man, so man, for me, I actually like I was very intentional. Like I thought about this stuff before I did it, and I did it quote unquote the right way. So for me, man, I actually, man, I was looking at. I like, firstly, man, I wanted them to come from a good family. You know what I mean? So the fact that they actually seen it already, that they could, it wasn't they were learning on the job. I want them to actually know exactly what it looked like. So that was one, and then I want them to be nurturing. I want them to like kids, for that matter. And then for two, I want them to have a sense of a purpose. That it wasn't just, oh well, we'll see what we can get out of it. No, like she understood, and we had the same morals. So I thought a lot of those things were super important. And I thought a lot of those things is, will transition into becoming a better mother. So with that being said, I mean, I think that, those are still the things that ring true, man. Like obviously there's no blueprint to this, but at the same time, have you seen it done correctly or at least productively? You know what I mean? Obviously we're all learning or whatever, but at the same time, to have a certain level of stability, man, I thought that was super important. And that's how I went about it, man. So that was definitely my mindset going into it.
For me, man, it was all about structure, physical attributes, like what they look like, because that's what my kids is going to look like, right? So I was big on that. Um, the home structure was important too, like because I didn't come from it. I always wanted, like, yeah, I want her to come from that grounded father, mother, you know what I mean? That nuclear family. So her seeing it was like, yeah, like then she knows how to kind of be in it. And as I'm trying to navigate and guide my way around it, she already knows, like, hey, we could turn here or we could turn there in a situation. You know what I mean? So definitely physically, I always wanted, the mother of my kids to be athletic. I always thought about how she was built. For those who know me, I have certain things about certain build that I was like, I don't want that in I don't want that structure in my lineage. You know what I mean? So, like, so her being athletic was important. Her being smart was important. Um, Nurturing for sure. But something that kind of throw me off, like one thing I always wanted, like she had to have something that the kids would always remember, like, yeah, my mom makes the best peach cobbler in the world. Like when they go away somewhere, they could come, they tell they homies or they friends, like, yeah, I'm gonna take you back to my house for Thanksgiving, and my mom makes the best of peach cobbler, apple pie. Her macaroni and cheese is banging. You know what I mean? Something. So that was also important too. Just to have that good mother sense. You know what I mean? I always thought that was super important. Um, for I think it just brings memories. You know what I mean? So physical attributes. How she's built. Her intelligence. She definitely had to be smart. Um, and definitely that nurturing side, and something special to pass on, that the kids could really appreciate. Family, her love for family was definitely huge in how I, wanted to pick or select, even from a long time, because I already knew, like, nuclear family was for me from a young age. So we'll go into the next question, right? So starting out with you, Ron. We all know we all fathers here. How did you select? How can I reword this? With which you selected, how close were you to getting to your criteria? You're muted. You're muted. You gotta unmute yourself.
I said, like, after like 16 years, I'm a single man, so I don't think I did a great job. So I think I missed that one. I might have missed the mark, son. You know what I mean? Look, I'm gonna tell you something right today, right? So my daughter's been ignoring her mom, right? Because they got like a little beef going on, right? And so in turn, the mom, her mom started ignoring her when the daughter was trying to reach out and bring it together. And she texts me with the thread like, yeah, she wanted to know me. I got something for her. And I'm like, yo, what in your mind would make you think it's okay to ignore her when she's trying to reach out? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you think that's cool? And when I held her accountable, she got upset, and then we started talking about whole different things. But like with that mindset, I know I missed. You know what I mean? Because like, why do I even have to bring that to your attention? That shit is totally wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is totally backwards. I said, yo, so the child is the one with the sense at this point? Like, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? This is the bigger person is the child. You supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, bring her in. So, like I said, I miss with that, and I miss with the family thing, man. Like you said, the family structure, not paying attention to the relationships, because how her relationship is with her people is how her all relationship end up being. You know what I mean? And that was huge, man. You know what I'm saying? So me going forward, that's one thing I'm looking at. Like I said, it's huge with me. I want to know how you are with your family and how you deal with adversity. You know what I'm saying? Because in any relationship, you're gonna have adverse situations. You know, so you know what I mean? Yeah, but like I said, man, long story short, son. Yeah, I missed that mark, B. I missed that one, son. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, none of us perfect, you know, so we all kind of miss somewhere. You know
All
what
right,
I
my
mean?
bad.
So I mean that's why there's a difference between what we picked and what we wanted and what we actually got. You know what I mean? In certain circumstances, make you know makes you make those decisions. You know, at uncomfortable times. So, Leifer, what you got?
The story is still being written. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I got what I picked, like, to the ultimate level. You know what I mean? I got what I picked. And like I said, that story is still being written, but amazing mother, you know what I mean? Extremely nurturing. Everything that I'm not, which is something I need, because as far as that emotional aspect and that nurturing thing, I'm not that guy. You know, I'm more like the authoritarian. I'm more like the teacher, the leader, you know what I mean, the coach, the person that's going to be there to create structure. But that whole emotional aspect, I'm not that. So my wife is literally everything that I'm not, and she fills those gaps in motherhood that I can't even get close to. So, you know, I would say I'm as close to the mark as I could be with that. But, you know, the story is still being written, and we still got a long way to go. So, you know, I got a 15-year-old, and now I got a 9-month-old. So this whole cycle starting over. So it's, you know, the story is still being written.
I don't know which button I'm. I was trying to give him a round of applause, but it ended up being shots fired.
Yo,
Yeah, I was like, damn. I was like,
you
what
gotta
just
get the
happened?
ad
Hey,
libs
I'm
right.
still not doing it
You
right.
gotta get it.
There
You
we
gotta get it
go.
right, Charlie.
There we go. Ah.
Come on,
round,
folks.
round of applause for that one, man. Go ahead, Mo Better. What you got, dog?
Yeah, so kind of like Lee was saying. I mean, one of the things that's kind of really interesting is because I did it a little bit different, right? So my pick was spot on for what I wanted at 17. By the time I got to be 28, it wasn't the right pick anymore. I evolved, and the things that I thought were important weren't as important anymore, or I put emphasis on other things. So the part that was really like mind blowing is I was picking, like, I know how y'all was saying, like, your pick was your pick. Like, I was picking a mother instead of picking. I was picking more for a kid than I was picking for me, if that makes sense. And the things that were important to me and the things that I needed was no longer the right pick for me. It was still the right pick for my offspring or whatever. But I was like, yo, this it's hard for me to cohabitate with this. It's not gonna work. So that becomes really important. Like, you have to be able to exist with that person in order to be able to have a nuclear family of your own. The fact that they were able to do it, like, I don't really, obviously I don't know the dynamics from the previous generation, how they were able to deal with some of the stuff that I was dealing with, right? So it's just one of those things where you just had to be like, this ain't this isn't great for me, but it was still, a good pick from a mother standpoint. But from from a helpmate standpoint, it just wasn't a good fit anymore. But again, that's from 17-year-old self making decisions that were long term when you probably wasn't ready to make those types of decisions yet.
For sure. Good answer, man. Clap.
So for me, I did it twice, right? So the first time around, um, man, the family core, that nuclear background, that was there. My first two children, they came from the family structure on that side was phenomenal. Like it was one to be like, dang, they really got it together. I mean, they had family reunions, Christmas holiday dinners was banging. Um, I think at the time I noticed a lot of things that um, I shouldn't have done, and even at that point, um, it was way too early to kind of pull the trigger. And the reason I did even go through with having children with my first kid's mother, man, I was kind of in a dark place. So like at that time of my life, I wasn't winning, and I needed a win. So it was like, well, the family's cool. I think she'll be all right. I think she'll be all right if as a mother. And I just misjudged it completely wrong. You know what I mean? And but like I said, it's my own fault because, like I said, I was in a dark place and I needed a win. And I thought about being a father all my life. So I was like, that's one of the things I know I'm not going to fail at. I'm gonna win at that. And there's no way I'm gonna drop off at that. So I gave it one of them, like, hey, roll the dice, let's go. And I know what I'm gonna do on my side, and ain't no way this thing gonna drop off. And I think my second, another thing I kind of like misevaluated was thinking that all women have these mothering traits, and they don't, right? So
They
it's
got the
really a
hardware, they might not have the software.
right. It's really a person by person basis on how that works. Like, you know what I mean? So you can't just assume. I just assume like, well, she's a woman. It's going to kick in. And that's not how that thing works. Like, you know what I mean? Like they really got to show you them traits, and things don't just kick in. They just got to be that way. You know what I mean? I was a little bit more selective second time around on how I did that, but even still, you just never know how things might show or not show. And it was, I made my mistakes, but I wish I wouldn't have made decisions from that dark place. It would have changed a lot in how I move going forward. You know what I mean? And how my life has turned out ever since. You know what I mean?
Man, so just to kind of piggyback on that, I think that's kind of dope, and I like the accountability of it instead of being like, "Oh, I made the wrong choice," da, 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 da. But it's like not only it was coming from a deficit, a choice was from a place of deficit. So, and I think the fact that you acknowledge that, I think that's a real perspective that people need to think about. Like, there's a saying that when a person's in a hole, stop digging. Like, if you were already in a dark place, don't go and make a permanent decision. You know what I mean? Like you're already down bad. Like try to find solid footing before you go and do something that's going to dig a even deeper hole. So the fact that you're able to take accountability for it, man, I think that's dope, man. Instead of just blaming others.
I think a lot of people do that though from a dark place, right? Like in on both sides. I don't want to throw too much at them, but I think men with a not with a whole bunch with not much to offer that get lucky. Like maybe we got a little bit of swag with us when we're young or something like that, and we get one of those good girls from the good family or whatever, right? And we go ahead and knock her up thinking it's going to be straight. With that in mind, like, oh, they're going to be straight because they come from this good family, knowing that we really don't got it together. You know what I'm saying? And really, all it really took is just us to kind of wait it out to see how our life would turn out. I think we're too impatient sometimes about what's in the future, and that a lot goes to us not having that kind of that guidance. Nobody down the road, a dad, a uncle we could listen to, somebody that we could really respect. Nobody down the road to tell us like, yeah, wait it out, don't do this, make this move, don't make that move. be cool. Like we got some uncles that be like, don't got no kids, don't have no kids. But we don't really respect them because they be drunks or something themselves. But so we don't listen. But you know, I think a lot of times that we just need that guidance to not make permanent decisions from dark places.
Facts.
I hear that for sure, man, and I think that's one thing that that I appreciate about my family is I got a whole side with a gang of uncles and a whole side with a gang of aunts, and my uncles taught me like from early on, like strap it up, dude. Like you don't want no long time attachment to something you don't really know. So, man, I was strapping it up. I mean, dang near till yesterday. You know what I mean? Because I just wasn't ready to give somebody that much control over me in my life. So it was always like, I'm going to protect me at all costs. So I know, that this is the right move. So, just listening, like every time I'm about to do something, I hear my uncles in the back of my head like, nah. Don't even play that game. So I never did.
Hey, let's welcome Dex to the conversation.
Yo, what up?
What's up, bro?
So we went over the first two questions, man. The first question was, how do we select the mothers for our children, right? So what's the criteria of the mother we had in mind for our offspring moving, when we were young?
Okay, all right. So I guess my answer. So, I mean, my situation was a little bit different. So I met my wife through our moms, basically. So, Kev will say it was like an arranged marriage type situation, but it wasn't exactly that. But the family bond, that was tight from the start. And we just built on that. Like, I've basically been with my wife since 2006, 2007.
So are you saying you didn't have any criteria? Like there was nothing like she has to
Oh
have
no,
this,
no, no.
this,
Oh,
this,
all
and
right. So you
this?
want to get like across the list? So
Yeah, what was the list? I'm not saying describe your wife. I'm just saying what was the list that like I need this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah. So it starts obviously with the physical attraction, right? That's the foundation. Like that's what makes you interested in the first place. But then beyond that, it goes back to that family thing, right? So she was close with her family. I'm close with my family, and I see how she respects her mom, respects her dad. She got her siblings she takes care of too. So, we're just on the same page when it came to the whole family values, right? And I mean, we waited, after we were together for a while, and we got married and waited like almost like 5 years before we even, had our first child. And, we have a 1-month-old now too. So we have an 8-year-old and a 1-month-old. So, this is, it's been a process, but the criteria, the foundation was always strong, man. Foundation was always strong.
So your criteria and what you ended up with was right on line.
Yeah, for me, yeah, I didn't have any problems, man. I'm good to go.
So so what's funny about that, man, I was actually watching it was called The Indian Matchmaker on Netflix, right? And as I was watching that, it kind of reminded me of what you were just talking about, Dex. And like the whole vetting process, like you didn't have to do, like your family basically vetted your wife. And that's the way it probably should be. Like, yo, they come from a good family, you know what I mean? And I think that alleviates a lot of the BS that we are choosing on. Like, obviously, there needs to be a certain level of attraction. I get that, but like, I heard somebody say one time, like they said, a certain group of people they mate from the neck up, and other people are mating from the navel down. Like, I think that resonated, like exactly how you said it on the Indian Matchmaker. That's exactly what they were doing. They're like, hey, this person comes from a good family. They have a high level gene pool. This is somebody, or this is a group of people we want to mate with, and this is who we want to connect our lineage to. And I think, if there were more arranged wedding or more vetting coming from the family, it would alleviate a lot of those poor decisions.
Dude, I'll say this. I guess it was so good that my brother married my wife's sister. So that's how, yeah.
Look, run it back. They said, let's run it back.
If it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, they said, hey, we did good on that.
Yo, never ever heard anything like that. Like that's crazy. Like I mean, we did it when we were young. Like, hey, you got a sister for me. You know what I mean? But like we like never have like the brother married the sister. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just nuts. Isn't there another one though?
No, that's it. That's it.
I thought there was another one where that was going to marry. Like she has another sister or something that's going to get married to somebody you're related to.
Yeah, no, that's like a family joke. But I have a younger sister, and my wife has a younger sister. But you know,
Okay, gotcha. So the next question, we go to the next question. Anybody else got something to say about that one? So the next question we have was,
I want to add one thing. So I know we kind of got ahead, but I know you was talking about the like you being in the dark place and making a decision. So I wanted to ask the fellas, right? Is that equivalent to saying that you're making a decision based off love? And also when you think about all the traumas that we have, and like sometimes when we're searching for love for different reasons, is that equivalent to being in the same dark place?
run that back.
Right. So you made a decision. You was in a dark place, and you made a decision for how you pick, right? But most of us make some decisions based off love, right? We say, "Oh, I love this person," so you disregard a lot of different things that you see because you're basing this off this emotion or this love, right? But a lot of the love that we experience is based off a lot of the traumas and shit that we experience in our lives. You know what I'm saying? So is that the same as being in a dark place and making that decision from a dark place? Because it's not a really an educated decision. You basing it off of your feelings.
I would say so. Definitely. I would say like making a decision like, oh, I love this person versus making a decision if because basically crashing out. Um, yeah, I would definitely say that's the same thing, right? So are you
So for
saying
me,
that
I think it's similar, but I wouldn't say it's the same thing. Like because obviously, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily, making a decision based off love. It's coming from a place of a deficit. Like maybe you just truly like you're not, especially if you're not saying you love them because I don't love myself or something like that. Like no, if you just truly want to be with that person for the rest of your life, and like
but
I
do it
think that's
matter if
fine.
it has the same outcome?
I mean, as long as your intentions were pure, like yeah, like I don't think it's the same thing.
The
Like
road
because
to
I wouldn't.
hell is built, is built with good intentions.
Yeah, but still, like I don't think I would just go into it and be like, oh, because it failed, it wasn't the right decision. Maybe there was something that happened, like they say, you start with your born date and your end date. It's the dash that's important. It's the stuff that you did in between. So there could have been something that happened in between that soured those good intentions. So that doesn't make the intentions and the initial feelings wrong. It's just things happen. But yeah, so I mean, now granted, if you're making a decision from a dark place, or you so-called love somebody because you don't love yourself, or you just love somebody because they love you, I think sometimes that's an issue. But if you truly have those type of feelings and your aspirations, and you don't plan on not being with them for the rest of your life, no, I wouldn't call that the same thing.
Oh, perfect segue. Next question. Why do we make women mothers that we're not willing to marry? And this is just a general, like, your general synopsis on what we're doing as a culture. You know what I mean? Like, there's tons of baby, single parent homes is rapid in our community. So why are there so many? Who want to jump at it first?
Whew, this is loaded. I'm trying to see how I want to attack this because um, I saw a status like about 70% or whatever, right? So I'll start firstly. I would imagine a lot of times it's not intentional on the man's part. Now, obviously, with the systems that are in place, after you shoot that seed, you lost all rights as far as to whether there's going to be a baby that actually comes forth and that such thing. I would imagine, like, okay, so of that 70%, I would imagine it's probably in the single digits where people were intentionally trying to create a baby mom. Like, it's a horrible deal. So I doubt that was the intent. But at the same time, with the systems that are in place, man, after you shoot that gun, it's over. Like, you have no rights. So I think that's that's kind of a trick bag of a question.
You talk about rights a lot, right? I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
let somebody jump in, right? But I don't want to go too far off, but can't we change these laws? Like, I mean, laws get changed every day, B. Like, why aren't we doing what it takes to, you know what I mean, to get ahead of these laws? Like, why are we just accepting the laws as is when it comes to this kind of stuff?
Right. So I think it's getting to that point because I think one, there wasn't a sounding board for men to have this type of dialogue, right? A lot of men just suffered in silence. They just went and they just got raped in the courtroom and they just go and work harder. Like, oh, I'll just pick up more hours. Like, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of that is just there was a lot of suffering in silence, and you didn't realize that there was other people going through the exact same thing. And we weren't comparing notes. Whereas, women, they compare notes. Like, this is what's going on. Maybe you should do this, girl. This is what worked for me. Whereas a lot of times men don't do that, man. We just put our head down and just keep working. And I think a lot of that suffering in silence has caused us to get to this point. So the fact that you have to acknowledge that there's a problem. So I think that's kind of what's going on now, and I think eventually some of those things will happen. But I think conversely, people understanding those systems, people are just opting out. So I think that's kind of where we are. Like, it's until those systems change, people are just flat out, guys are just flat out opting out.
Anybody else? Why are we creating mothers that we're not willing to marry?
No, I mean, for me, like I just feel like a lot of people is out here just practicing. You're not trying to create a mother. You just having a good time, and you know, sometimes things happen as a result of that. And like Reese said, you know, you don't really have the rights. Once you shoot your shot, it's a wrap. She don't even have to tell you she's keeping it. She don't even have to tell you she's pregnant, first of all. And you know what I mean? She come through after the fact and say, look, this is your baby, blah, blah, blah. Now you gotta, pay child support, or you gotta deal with it at that point. So, you really don't have a lot of power after the fact. So that's why, it's always important to think, before you get into that situation, how you gonna protect yourself. Because once you go too far, there is no protections for yourself. It's gone now. And as far as that point of why aren't we fighting out, or why aren't we trying to change the laws, man? I mean, it requires a lot. You know what I mean? You got to have you got to kind of build a coalition, and then you got to have the same goals, and you got to have something written down to where you want to go and fight, and have somebody go and lobby on your behalf. Not to say it's impossible, man, but to get a group of black people or a group of people together, period, on a common cause that's going to be willing to fight that tooth and nail is difficult in any situation, especially this one. When when you're a man, you just kind of, you put your head down and you keep grinding. It's not like, I guess this generation is changing a lot because, men are more vocal, and they're standing up more, and they're more, I guess, attached to what's happening than, men of different generations where it's just kind of like, whatever, you roll with the punches. But I've seen it a lot, in my own family, where it's just like situation after situation after situation after situation. And now you look after the fact, and now it's like, you got all these kids that you've been taking care of all these years, and you love them, but you wish it was a different situation. You know what I mean? Because you talking about 4 or 5 different baby mothers sometimes. You know what I mean? So, like I said, after you make that decision, there's really no coming back from it.
So you saying just because it's out of your hands, like, I think there could have been preventative measures from gate, right? Because I mean,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
like none of us like had them. I chose when, you know what I mean, and like I said, I had to get into a dark space. Like I was sexually active well before I actually had a kid, right? I dodged it that long, but I got in a dark space and was like, all right, maybe it's time for me. I ain't doing nothing else. You know what I mean? Like I got to win there. So I mean, you can't just say it's to having fun. I do think though that having kids in general, in the right situation or not, kids shouldn't be playing. They should all be accidents for real. You know what I'm saying? It should be a consequence of living life, and like we're living life, having fun, doing what we do. Up here's a kid, but you should be doing that with some precautions around it. You know what I mean? You should be married before you dropping kids out here. What you got, Dex?
I mean, so I mean, this is strictly from observation or whatever, but I think a lot of people definitely just get caught up, right? Like a lot of the time, you with somebody initially, it's always fun, all that type of stuff, and then things happen, and then things get real after the fact, right? And it's not all fun and games anymore. So then that's why it becomes like maybe a baby mama situation instead of a wife situation, right? Like when the real troubles actually start coming into the mix. It's not just we're partying or we're just hanging out, we're doing what we want to do. Like now you got to think beyond that, and that brings that stress, and that can show how weak, that I guess bond or whatever that you thought was there is, right? Like it reveals the weakness of that. So, I mean, for me, speaking for myself, like I never really made any intention of having like baby mamas or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like I just, just like you said, right? You took certain precautions or whatever, like all the years before you decided to do what you decided to do, right? So until, I felt like it was the right time for me, I'm being careful. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it.
So we could go ahead and move on to this this final question, right? So the final question is,
Yo, Kay, I can't get mine.
oh my bad. Go ahead, go for it. Go for it.
Damn,
I thought you said something already, but go ahead, go
nah,
for
man,
it.
you know what I'm saying? I got a voice.
Look, so
Hey.
you don't suffer in silence.
Hey, I think a part of it is that we were brought up with the notion that like like the old school women, like they all know how to be what we want them to be, the mom, you know what I'm saying, the wife, the caretaker, everything. And like, you know what I'm saying, it's already ready. All we gotta do is just add water. You know what I'm saying? And then when we figure out that that's not the case, us as men, we don't have the patience or the know-how because we're not given the same things they had to show them what to do. So we give up. And then we go back and try to find another one.
What you mean? Go unpack that.
So you said why we not? So the reason, like, so you get with a woman, right? But you thinking, yo, all I got to do is just get with her, give her the basics, and she gonna know everything to do. She gonna know how to treat me.
I
She
see
know how
what you're
to
saying.
treat me.
Yeah, yep.
You know
I
what I'm
see
saying?
what you're saying. Yeah.
She's been brought up and taught this, but not taking into consideration that all that is gone. Like the grandma don't teach them no more. You know what I'm saying? They're not learning coming up. You know what I'm saying? So when we get them, we realize like, damn, she don't know nothing. Like she don't know this, she don't know that. But we lack because we ain't had the same things instilled in us. We missing the same values from a man perspective, so we can't teach them and bring them in. So we rather just give up and be like, shit, let me go find somebody else. You know what I'm saying? She ain't the one. And so that's why we just bounce from woman to woman because we really ain't, sufficient enough to fulfill them ourselves. See what I'm saying?
Hey,
You know what I mean? Really a lack on our part.
I'm glad you stopped me and gave your perspective, dog. Like real talk. I'm glad you said that, man. That's because I wasn't even thinking about how we're just trying to find the next one. Like, well, this one's broken. Let me get the next. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this don't work. This is broke. Like, no, we didn't have the instructions right. You know what I mean? We read the manual was wrong on this one. So yeah, no, you definitely hit some good points. We got to take accountability there and step into that leadership role a lot sooner, understanding what getting with a woman really is about. You know what I mean? Instead of it being all fun and games. I mean, and be extra cautious when it's all about fun and games. You know what I mean? Like, so as long as we out here playing, hey, strap up, do what you got to do. Even get that snit. Like how people don't. I'm not going to advocate for that, but we got to keep things within our power, right? Like it's like a game. We can't fight the refs. Like you only could do what we could do. So.
Now, granted, I mean, if you're prone to not take certain precautions, man, that's a fail safe. Like in boxing, man, they say protect yourself at all times. Like if you liable to go get drunk and not strap up, that's fail safe is the snip. Like so, if you out here doing it like that, man, make sure I don't have a problem with it, man. Like obviously, I'm no doctor, but they say it's reversible and stuff like that. But man, it could totally save you. It can save your life. Because I'm telling you, man, you get caught up and with the wrong person, man, like it could change the trajectory of your life, and man, it's not a good look. So, man, I'm all for protecting yourself at all times and at all costs.
So, final question, right? So, how could we stop or reverse the single parent home situation, right, going on in our community? How could we kind of resolve these issues? What can men do? What could dads do? They can't, to close the gap, because we all see that's the very problem wrong with our society, right? With our culture, is that we're leaving all these single parent homes out here, and when it comes to being financial, or why our communities over here and other communities over there, that's the number one cause of it, for real. So, what can we do to kind of bridge this gap?
I think a big part of it is what we emphasize and what we put a focus on. I remember I heard a woman one time say, "When sex got easier, love got harder." So that's the biggest thing, like right there. Like we talking about having fun. Like, is that really just like is that fun? Like doing that,
Yes.
doing like,
Yes.
but it shouldn't be. That's the issue. Like it shouldn't be. Like I get it. Like I like to have fun like anybody else. However, like you're literally playing Russian roulette. Like, should we really be saying like this is fun? Oh, that's what life is about, to have fun while you're young. So the same way that we're telling our boys this, the girls are hearing this. So is that really what we want to emphasize? Like, I think there needs to be more shame in our community and be like, yo, like there used to be a time like if you went and had a baby young and you got pregnant young, they sent you down south because you shamed the family. Like now they're literally having baby showers for 15-year-olds and gender reveals and putting it on Facebook. For the most part, like we're all around that age. Like, can you imagine your grandmother doing that for a sister of yours? Like she would be ashamed. There's no way that she would be putting that out there. So I think there needs to be a certain level of decorum in what is acceptable and not. So I think that speaks to a big portion of what's going on in our community. Like we have no shame. So we need to bring shame back.
Wow. You're gonna get ate up for that one.
Look. So if the woke police were to come for that, like, okay, so so that means you're okay with the state of our community at this point.
No, I mean I'm not against it. I'm not
That's
against
what I'm saying. So
having some dignity about yourself, right? But
yeah, that's all.
Yo, there used to be things that black people just didn't do. You know what I'm saying?
Teenage pregnancy wasn't one of them, though. I mean,
but it wasn't just rampant. It wasn't just rampant. Like, so for example, like, and man, this is really going off the rails here. But like before there was like welfare and stuff like that, like it was 80% marriage rate in our community because they couldn't survive being a single mother without having that father around. So, you know what I mean? Like, so again, going back to those systems that we have in place. So the fact that you brought in the state, you were able to remove the father. So when you start having a lot of those things, you can easily be like, oh, well, girl, it's okay. So like, there's people that are our age and they're empty nesters. Like the fact that you raised a whole child by 40 is bananas. And now they're back out here and they're like, oh, well, I'm ready to kind of, do it all over again. Like that's bananas to me. So yeah, I mean, it's God forbid, like, so how you saying people will eat me up? God forbid we take away those fail safes on the other side to where, okay, now you're really doing it by yourself with no help. Good luck.
Like I said, I'm all for that kind of solution, like dignity. I mean, if shame comes with it, shame come with it. You got to have something to be like, I'm too good for this, right? At some point,
both sides.
Yeah, it is
I'm not
both
just
sides.
trying to push it on anybody. It's both sides. Like the saying goes for.
No, I wasn't saying it for them, but I was saying it for us, right? Like at some point, you got to be like, man, I don't belong here. You know what I mean? I'm too good to be in this situation.
Yeah.
Who got next on this?
Shoot, I'll hop in. I just feel like, in order to make it better, because if you see You know, I mean, I've been watching a lot of podcasts, working from home and stuff. So, you know, just seeing how people frame, you know, marriage and relationships. You know, I think we have to be, uh, we have to be the change that we want to see, right? So people they're down in marriage, they're down in, you know, relationships, and they're saying, well, why do I want to get married when I got all these married men in my DMs, or I got, you know, blah blah blah, or blase blase. I mean, we got to be better as people to, you know what I mean, to show what it looks like to be, you know, to be in a marriage or to be a married couple, and we got to do better, you know. And I think by that, you know, showing people what it looks like to be in a committed marriage, that, you know what I mean, the positive sides of it, and just also letting people understand that, look, man, this is a lifelong commitment and people gonna make mistakes. So, you know, and understanding that, I think that's gonna have to be the root of it, is for people to actually just see it and understand what it means, and not just this fickle idea of marriage, this whole, you know, love and butterflies. Nah, like a commitment that you're saying, like, this is, I choose to be here. I choose to be with you through sickness and health. You know what I mean? Rich or poor, I choose to be with you to ride this thing called life out. And I think the more people see, you know, people in that battle, because it's a battle, it's a struggle every single day, you know, on both sides. So, you know, people seeing that and understanding that positive and getting out of this whole, what I call it, the McDonaldization of the world. Everybody wants that instant gratification. They need that instant fix. They need happy, 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 glorify, glorify, like, and everything has to be like that all the time. But it's not, especially relationships and marriage, man. It's a
Is,
roller coaster.
so is a child worth that extra? I choose to be here.
You mean, is
Because
the child
what if
worth staying in a effed up situation? Is that what you're
right,
saying?
right, is the child there? Is it worth your unhappiness?
I think
Whew.
that's a question, man. That's a question. So what I would say is, you know, it's a difficult thing, because, you know, if you're unhappy and there's that, you know, there's that struggle, and it's a visual struggle that the child can see all the time, and, you know, that's not healthy for a child, you know, either. Rather, you know, I get it, a broken home, and, you know, that's not healthy for a child. But if you know, get into those daily spats where you're almost, you know, going fisticuffs with each other, I mean, that's not healthy for a child either. So sometimes you got to step back and make the best decision for the child. And I mean, I've said this to plenty of people, you know, in the past, like, you don't have to be married or together to be a good father. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's better for you to just step back, you know, analyze the situation and do what's best for the family. And sometimes what's best for the family is for you to get out of that situation, but to still be, you know, in the parenting business. You know what I mean? And, you know, they call it co-parenting and all this stuff now, but, you know, just being a father, and sometimes that's what you got to do. So I'm not going to say that, you know, you should stay in a bad situation, but you should be committed to making that situation better, if that's something that you know, feel strongly about. Like I said, there's ups and downs in the marriage, man. Every day is not going to be rainbows and sunshines. Hell, most days are not going to be rainbows and sunshines. But you also got to understand that you're two different individuals coming from two different backgrounds that have two different ideas of what a perfect day looks like. So, you know what I mean? Having that communication and being able to, you know, talk that out, it means everything. I still haven't achieved that. I'm still working on it, but, you know,
I
that's how I think about it.
I think at this stage of my life, I think men are in complete control of every relationship, and if it fails, it's completely that man's fault. At this stage of my life, I didn't always think like that, but where how I think about it now, and the accountability that we need to own up on and have for ourselves. Um, if we pick right or wrong when it comes to the betterment of the child, I think we have the power to not only make that situation right, but make that situation better, sustainable, and even get to a happy point if we put together a plan and lead it properly. Um, I think we have complete control over that. Like I'll even go as far as, at the state I'm in now, I probably could have fixed the first situation I ever had. Like, so that's how, I mean, but I didn't have the skills or the toolkit to do that. Now I do, but then I definitely didn't. You know what I mean?
So
So
look, so one of the things that was exactly one of the things that I was going to push back on is maybe you just made the decision too early and you weren't equipped to do what needed to be done, right? But
exactly.
I disagree that we have total control of everything, because that's not true. You're dealing with a whole nother human. Like, they have to choose to follow your lead. Like, what if they be like, yo, like, no, like, I'd much rather you be gone, but I still get whatever resources that I can get from you from
I
said
don't
system.
think women can help but to follow a man's lead when the leadership is right. I don't think they can help themselves, right? I mean, that's why they make so many bad decisions and continue to make the bad decisions. Like they very rarely grow past the bad decisions until like they're hit hard with reality of, oh, I don't have pretty privilege or something anymore, right? So I think that, you know, I don't
So
really
what
think,
makes you
I think
think you
it's
can
just
supersede that? So what makes you think your leadership can supersede that?
because I don't think I think that's just in them to follow great leadership. I just think it's in them, and I don't think they can help it. I don't think they can help it, to be honest.
But you just said like they're bad at making those decisions. Like,
Right.
that
So
could be what's best for them. And they'll be
they
like,
need
yo,
led, they need guided. You know what I mean? They're bad at doing it on their own, right? Just they seen the way out with um let's say if we take it back to the 80s, right? And people blame you know, welfare and you know, for the single parent home situation now, right? Um if we were a better option than welfare, then they would have said no to it. But
that's fair.
we weren't a better option, right? So if we had better leadership then, you know what I mean? They would have been like, no, I'm
See,
not
but
giving up my man for no for Uncle Sam. Like, no.
See, but then like you're getting the like you're there's we don't control much in this country. So to say that, like, because a lot of it was financial, right? So like they didn't have jobs coming from where we come from. Like, they snatched the jobs out of steel mills out of our town. Like, so these folks just flat out had no work. So because you no longer had the means to provide, the leadership left. Like, no, they still had leadership. So obviously it's more than just leadership, and there's systems involved that caused that burden. So just to be like,
I
oh
agree.
well,
I agree. But I think that whole generation would sleep at the wheel, though. To be honest, right? And that's a whole nother topic.
yeah,
But
I would say like, so in a utopian society, yeah, that makes sense. Like, oh, follow my leadership. I'm a great leader. Like, where that money at, dude? Like, you know what I mean, like, that's what they was thinking. And now maybe the smarter decision would have been, I'll take these resources, but I'll still keep my family intact. But that wasn't what
I mean,
happened. So
they would have had to find a way to spin the system, right?
right.
I don't
So
want to. I want Dex to hop in and you know, the beloved Ron opinion. Go ahead and get y'all's out, and you know what I mean. Then we'll kind of circle back.
No, quick. I mean, totally agree. You know, you got to be the change that you want to see in the community, right? So, you know, even being a beacon, right? You're leading your family. You're doing the right things. You're, at least as far as you know, to show your kids, your sons, the way, you know, things could be done. And then, you know, if you're influencing other kids, like other, you know, males that don't have that father figure around them, they're seeing it firsthand, like, you know, what life could be like, right? Not just, you know, what they might see on TV or what they might see in their own situation. Like, they see an alternative, right? So again, marriage isn't perfect every day. You know, it's, you know, you're fighting battles and stuff like that, but you're definitely making a choice to be in that relationship. And, you know, it's bigger than you. In my opinion, it's about that kingdom, like we spoke about last week, right? If that's the focus, you know, that's what you're building, right? So just keep your eyes on that. And, you know, little things is what you're probably arguing about anyways, that you could get over that, right? That's it.
Ron, what you got?
I agree with Dex. Like, we definitely need to we need to be the change, you know, that we want. Like, we become the change that we want. I think another, and I might have missed it, is that, we gotta bring back the village. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta bring back the elders. I was once in a conference, and they said write down 5 like of your elders, and then like 5 of your peers. So I had peers like that you go to for like information and help. Like I had peers, like we're all peers. Like we're all here for each other, but we're still learning. You know what I'm saying? Like we learn on experience. But like I couldn't really name no elders, man. I ain't had none. And I was like, damn, when I looked at it, I said, shit, that's why I be bumping my head all the time, because I gotta go through it, then I learn it. You know what I'm saying? I hit Kev up, we talk about it, but they already experienced it, you know what I'm saying? And now I gotta deal with everything that comes from it. Instead of having somebody who can just guide me before it happens, be like, hey, you want to do this. And I don't have to bump my head, I can avoid things, man. So we gotta we missing that elder because it's that generational gap. You know what I'm saying? That the 80s and them 90s that took out a lot of our, you know what I'm saying, our elders. Now we just gotta be the elders, man. We gotta become that. You know what I mean? We gotta, you know what I mean, take that and make sure that we're pulling these young dudes out, man. They gotta experience everything. You know what I mean? We could be like, you know what I'm saying, the first defense.
I definitely agree. It's definitely our time, right? And that's what this podcast is really about, right? Is shining a light on what we go through, and hopefully some young cats, can kind of get a hold of this and be like, man, these guys are already talking about it, right? But I think we said something last week, right? A good father, a part of our criteria is being that for the community. You know what I mean? So if we don't affect the community in a positive way, then we can't even call ourselves a prototype dad, a good dad, or whatever it might be. So we definitely got to make sure like we're giving back, we're taking care of the next generation. Like, hey man, don't do this, or little dude, you need some ice cream, or whatever. Even if it's teaching the kid how to shoot a jump shot at the hoop court, anything, what I mean, that we can do. We definitely got. I agree on being a change, right? So,
But especially when you be in that change, you definitely gotta walk around with this mindset. Like you might be the only example of a man that this young dude see. You know what I mean? You're gonna be that image. So what image do you want them to see and want them to walk away with?
some people don't care, and
Yeah.
that's the unfortunate part, right? Was like we got peers. I don't necessarily, I guess we call them like guys in our, not in our circle, but guys that we run into know that the image, they don't care, right? So how do we weed those guys out? Do we do anything at all?
So I think it goes back to that shame and having a certain standard of decorum. Like for example, like I was one of the guys like I'll do for my tribe, and I'll do for the people within my inner circle and those kids or whatever. And then the more I start kind of experiencing stuff, and I had a daughter, and she started getting older, I was like, yo, wait a minute. It becomes the whole nature versus nurture. So I'm teaching her the right things or whatever, but it's a chaos around her. And I'm like, oh, I need to do a better job of having a standard level of what's okay within this community, or she's gonna be out here doing the so-called right thing and like, yo, she's so lame. Like she actually doesn't want to have a baby now. Like these are the type of things that I started thinking about. Like, oh, there's gonna be chaos around her, so I can't keep her in a bubble. So I need to start being more intentional about the space around us, or I was more intentional about the spaces that I put her in.
I think Leifer, you can speak to that.
I mean, I can speak to a lot of that, but for me, I try to, be a voice in the community and show, I do mentoring through my job, mentor young men and women and young girls, and I try to do the same thing in my household and try to lead by example, but also at the same time let them know daddy ain't shit. Don't be like daddy, be better. But for real, just trying to create and mold an environment within the household, because I can't control outside. Like once you leave the house, you can literally say, forget everything I taught you and do whatever you want, but at least building that foundation. So, like I said in the beginning, if she goes too far left, she knows where the North Star is at to come back.
I think it's super huge to be that father figure to them guys who definitely don't have the father figure, right? And even if it's a glimpse, they'll take a piece of what you show them, right? You could be a terrible person, but if you show them a piece of you being a good person, they'll hold on to that forever. You know what I mean? And they can kind of model, even off that snippet, they can model like, well, I seen this small piece. They must be good. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that's important. And I think emotional intelligence is goes a long way with the young guys as well. You know, um, the difference between, you know, being aggressive and being assertive is an understanding that a lot of us don't, you know, didn't grow up with, right? We always face um our disagreements with acts of violence, you know what I mean, or a bully tactic instead of uh just being assertive in how we feel, stand, and, you know, making sure we speak what's correct or how things should go.
Yeah,
But
that's just like you said, man. But that was an example that we were given. That's what the man was supposed to do. You know, so we're gonna take from every little example that we have. We're gonna take from that, and we're gonna create who we think we're supposed to be, and we're gonna live it out. So that's why it's so important, man, for stuff like this, and just, you know, men in general, man, to really step up, man, and give them an example, man. Give them the prototype dad.
period. But, you know, I only slaughtered y'all guys for an hour, so I ain't keeping y'all. And it's late, so I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and get it. Hey, I appreciate you guys though.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, my brother.
Yeah, no
Doing
doubt, man. It was
good
another good
work. Doing good
conversation.
work.
See you guys next Tuesday.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right, y'all. All right.